Major trading milestones to hit in your first 12 months. Most traders miss all 4. Most traders spend their first year trying to make money, and that's exactly why most traders fail. I know that sounds backwards. I know you came to trading because you wanted financial freedom or a second income or maybe just to prove to yourself that you could do something most people can't. I understand that. I respect it. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody in this industry wants to say out loud. The traders who survive their first year and eventually thrive are not the ones who made the most money in month 1. They're the ones who hit 4 very specific milestones that have almost nothing to do with profits. And if you don't know what those milestones are, if nobody has ever laid them out honestly for you, then you will spend your entire first year measuring the wrong things, celebrating the wrong wins, and feeling like a failure for the wrong reasons. Today, that changes. This video is not about strategies, it's not about indicators, it's not a setup tutorial. It's about the invisible scorecard that separates the traders who eventually make it from the ones who quietly disappear from the charts after 12 months. If you're in your first year right now, or about to start, this might be the most important thing you watch this year. Let's go. Here's what the trading education world tells you your first year is about. It tells you to find a strategy, build a watch list, learn technical analysis, start a journal, be consistent, and then, the implication always just below the surface, start making money, start seeing the account grow, start replacing your income. The marketing around trading is built on a timeline that doesn't exist in reality. Courses with titles like Profitable in 30 Days, mentorships promising your first green month, social media accounts showing overnight transformations, all of it quietly telling you that if you're not profitable in your first year, something is wrong with you. Let me be honest with you. That timeline is a lie. Not a small lie, a foundational, industry-wide lie that destroys more trader careers before they begin than any bad strategy ever could. Here's what the data actually says. Studies on retail trading consistently show that roughly 70 to 80% of retail traders lose money. But what those statistics don't tell you, what the headline never includes, is that most of those traders were never developing in the right direction to begin with. They were chasing profits before they had the foundation to hold them, like trying to run before you've learned to balance. The traders who eventually become consistently profitable, the ones you see 2, 3, 5 years in, they almost universally describe their first year the same way. Not as the year they made money, as the year they built something. Something internal, something invisible, something that couldn't show up on a profit and loss statement but made everything after it possible. 4 milestones. Most traders miss all 4. Here's what they are. Milestone 1. You stop blaming the market and start auditing yourself. This is the first milestone, and it's the hardest one to reach because it requires a kind of honesty that is genuinely painful. Let me describe where you are before you hit this milestone. You take a trade, it loses, and within seconds, sometimes within milliseconds, a story forms in your head. The market hunted my stop, the spread spiked, the news came out of nowhere, the setup was valid, it just didn't work, my broker is against me. These stories are not entirely wrong. Sometimes spreads do spike, sometimes news is unexpected, sometimes valid setups fail. That's the nature of probabilistic systems. But here's what's really happening. You are outsourcing accountability. You are making the loss about something external so you don't have to look at something internal, because looking internal is terrifying. Because looking internal means, did I follow my rules? Did I enter for the right reason? Did I size correctly? Did I move my stop? Did I even have a real edge on this trade? Or did I just want to be in the market? Those are uncomfortable questions. The old behavior, every loss gets an external explanation, the market was wrong, manipulated, unpredictable, or unfair. The new behavior, every loss gets an internal audit first. Before any external explanation is even considered, you ask, what did I do, and was it what I said I would do? The psychology behind this is something called locus of control. Psychologist Julian Rotter developed this concept in the 1950s, the idea that people exist on a spectrum between believing external forces control their outcomes and believing their own actions drive their results. Traders with an external locus of control stay stuck indefinitely, not because the market never manipulates price, it does, but because as long as outcomes are someone else's fault, there is nothing for you to improve. You become permanently dependent on the market behaving correctly for you to succeed. Traders with an internal locus of control, even when they acknowledge external factors, always find something to own, always find something to improve, and that compounding of tiny improvements over 12 months is what creates the foundation of a real trading career. Here's a story that illustrates this. I know a trader, let's call him Daniel. Daniel spent his first 8 months furious at the market. He had a forum. He'd post every loss with a chart screenshot and a caption like, "Tell me how this wasn't manipulation." And people would agree with him. They'd comment, "Yeah, they always do this." And Daniel would feel validated. What Daniel was actually doing was building a community around shared helplessness. He was becoming the best version of a victim. In month 9, something shifted. He started a simple rule. Before posting any loss online, he had to write down privately what he could have done differently. Not what the market did, he did. And the first few times he wrote, "Nothing, I did everything right." But he kept doing it, and slowly, around the 3rd week, he started finding things. He'd entered before confirmation. He'd sized up because the previous trade had been a winner. He'd ignored a news event he had a rule about avoiding. The losses didn't stop immediately, but his relationship to them changed completely. And within 2 months, his win rate improved, not because the market changed, but because Daniel changed. He hit milestone 1, 8 months in. Most traders never get there. The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. Confucius. The mountain is your psychology. The small stones are the tiny, honest admissions you make after every trade. If you're watching this and you recognize Daniel in yourself, if you've been collecting external explanations, I want you to drop audit in the comments right now, because naming it is the beginning of ending it. Milestone 2. You experience your first controlled losing streak and don't change your strategy. This is where it changes. Not a small losing streak, 2 or 3 losses, I mean a real one, 5 losses in a row, 6, maybe 8, the kind that makes you question everything, the kind that makes your spouse or your family look at you differently when you sit down at the charts, the kind that has you Googling new strategies at midnight. And here's the milestone, the actual milestone, surviving that streak without abandoning the strategy. Let me be specific about what that means. Surviving doesn't mean gritting your teeth and forcing bad trades. It means continuing to take only valid setups, maintaining your risk parameters, not increasing position size to make it back, and trusting that a statistically sound edge will eventually reassert itself, even when every emotion in your body is screaming that something is broken. That is the milestone. Old behavior. A losing streak triggers a strategy overhaul. New indicators, new time frame, new mentor, new approach. Essentially starting over from zero, which is why so many traders spend years in perpetual beginner mode. New behavior. A losing streak triggers an audit, milestone 1, and then, if the process was sound, a quiet decision to stay the course. Not arrogantly, not blindly, but with data-informed patience. The psychology here is what behavioral scientists call loss aversion, the finding by Kahneman and Tversky that losses feel roughly twice as painful as equivalent gains feel pleasurable. which means a 5-trade losing streak doesn't just feel bad, it feels catastrophically, disproportionately terrible. Your nervous system is not built to hold a losing streak with equanimity. It's built to act, to change something, to fix the pain. And the market exploits this mercilessly. Because the moment you change your strategy mid-losing streak, you reset your sample size. You never find out if your original approach was actually broken or if you simply hit a normal statistical cluster of losses that every sound system will occasionally produce. You will never know, and so you start the experiment over. And the next losing streak sends you hunting for a new strategy again. This is the loop. This is why traders spend years in the same place. Imagine becoming the kind of trader who can absorb a 6-trade losing streak, open the charts the next morning, and take the next valid setup with the same procedural calm as if the losses had never happened. Not because you don't feel the losses, but because you've learned to distinguish between bad process and outcome variance. That distinction between bad process and bad luck is worth more than any entry model you will ever buy. Here's a thought that will stay with you if you let it. In the short run, the market is a voting machine. In the long run, it is a weighing machine. Benjamin Graham. In the short run, you will lose trades that should have won. You will win trades you should have lost. The vote doesn't always go to the right candidate, but over hundreds of trades, the weight of a real edge shows up on the scale, every time. The traders who make it are the ones who stay long enough to get on the scale. I want you to think about this honestly. Have you ever abandoned a strategy during a losing streak only to watch the strategy later produce exactly the results you needed for someone else while you were running a new experiment? If that's happened to you, type yes in the comments. I genuinely want to know how many of us have been there. Milestone 3. You have a week where you feel absolutely nothing after your trades, and that feels like peace. This one surprises people. We tend to think that emotional investment in trading is a sign of caring, that passion and intensity translate to performance, that if you feel it deeply, you must be taking it seriously. But let me be honest with you about what emotional trading actually does to your performance. Every emotion you feel during or after a trade is energy being spent on interpretation rather than execution. Every spike of excitement after a winner is neurological feedback, training your brain to seek the feeling of winning rather than the process of trading correctly. Every wave of despair after a loser is your nervous system associating the trading process with threat, making the next trade harder to take cleanly. And the traders who understand this deeply begin to work toward something that sounds almost counterintuitive: emotional neutrality. Not numbness, not detachment, but a steady, quiet equanimity where a winning trade and a losing trade produce approximately the same internal response, because both are measured only by whether the process was correct. Old behavior: euphoria after winners, devastation after losers. Your mood tracks your P&L like a shadow. New behavior: consistent procedural response to both outcomes. A win is good process, next. A loss is good process, next. Or process error, noted, corrected, next. The psychology here touches something called hedonic adaptation, the well-documented human tendency to return to a baseline emotional state after both positive and negative events. Elite performers in every high-pressure field, surgeons, pilots, special operations soldiers, deliberately cultivate this baseline. Not because they're robots, because their performance depends on their next decision being clean, and a flooded emotional state makes clean decisions almost impossible. Let me tell you about Maya. Maya was 3 months into trading when I first heard her story. She described herself as someone who felt everything. A winner made her feel invincible. A loser made her feel stupid. And she said the worst part wasn't the losing, it was that after a big win, she'd get reckless, she'd size up, she'd take marginal setups because she felt like she had a cushion, like the market owed her another one. And after a big loss, she'd get paralyzed, she'd see valid setups and not take them, fearing she'd be wrong again, protecting the remaining balance instead of executing her strategy. The wins were making her reckless, the losses were making her fearful. Both emotions were working against her. Around month 7, she told me she'd started doing something unusual. After every trade, win or loss, she'd close the platform, make a cup of tea, and sit for 5 minutes before reviewing the trade. No immediate emotional reaction, just a pause. Then she'd open the journal, write down what happened, what she did, and whether it matched the plan. She said the first time she sat down after a winning trade and felt almost nothing, she got scared. She thought something was wrong, that she'd lost her passion. But then she realized the feeling wasn't emptiness, it was peace. And her trading quietly transformed. Not overnight, but over the following months, her consistency improved dramatically. Not because she had new information, but because the person executing the information had changed. The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. Bruce Lee. Not the most talented, not the most emotional, not the most excited, the most focused, the most procedural, the most consistent. This is milestone 3, and most traders never experience it because they've been told that passion is an edge. In this game, controlled calm is the edge. Milestone 4. You make a trade you feel completely confident about. It loses, and you're okay with that. This is the deepest milestone. And it's the one that separates traders who have genuinely evolved from traders who have simply learned to perform discipline while things are working. Here's the scenario. You see a setup. It checks every box. Your strategy criteria, all of them, are met. Your risk is correctly sized. Your stop is placed properly. Your target is logical. You've seen this setup work dozens of times. You take the trade with genuine confidence. It loses. Not because you did anything wrong, not because you missed anything, not because the strategy is broken, just the trade lost, because that is what trades do sometimes, even perfect ones. And the milestone, the actual real meaningful milestone, is sitting with that loss and feeling something that takes most traders years to develop. Acceptance without defeat. Not the numb acceptance of someone who has given up caring, the clear-eyed acceptance of someone who understands in their bones that they are playing a game of probability, and that in a probabilistic game, even the correct decision produces the wrong outcome sometimes, and that is not a problem. That is the nature of the system. Read that again. Let it settle somewhere below the surface. Because the day you truly believe that, not intellectually, but in your gut, in your hands when you're managing a trade, in your chest when the stop hits, the day you truly believe that a loss on a correct trade is not a failure, but a data point, that is the day your trading career actually begins. Here's what I want you to do right now. Think about the last trade you took with high confidence that didn't work out. What did you feel? What did you tell yourself? What did you change because of it? Be honest with yourself. Nobody can hear the answer. Because in that answer is everything you need to know about where you currently are and how far you have to go.
12 months, 2 traders. Let me tell you about 2 traders who started at the same time. We'll call them James and Kofi. Same starting capital, same initial strategy they found in an online course, same amount of screen time in the early months. Both motivated, both serious, both genuinely wanting this to work. At month 3, both hit a losing streak, 5 losses in 6 trades. James decided the strategy was broken. He found a new one, spent 2 weeks learning it, started again. Kofi audited his trades, found that 2 of the 5 losses were on trades where he deviated from his entry criteria. He tightened his rules, stayed with the strategy. At month 6, James had switched strategies 3 times. His equity curve was messy, some big wins, some crushing losses. He was getting faster at learning new approaches, but never getting deep enough into any of them to understand the variance. He was always starting over. Kofi was still on his original strategy. His win rate had improved slightly, not because the strategy changed, but because his execution had. He'd stopped taking marginal setups. He'd stopped trading during volatile news windows he had a rule about avoiding. He'd started responding to losses with a 5-minute reset before reviewing. He was calmer, more boring, less exciting, more consistent. At month 12, James had a flashier story. More dramatic wins, more dramatic losses, a higher account peak, but a lower current balance. He was still searching. Kofi had a quieter story, smaller, steadier growth. He'd hit a point, somewhere around month 9, where a 6-trade losing streak came and went without him changing anything. He'd taken the next valid setup the day after the 6th loss with the same clean execution as always. The streak ended, his edge reasserted. He didn't post about it, he just noted it in his journal and kept going. By month 12, Kofi was not rich. He was not financially free, but he was something far more valuable. He was a trader with a repeatable process, a clear understanding of his own psychology, and the beginning of something real. James was still searching. Here's the thing about that story. Most of us start as James. There's no shame in that. The shame would be in staying James when Kofi's path is available to us. The Kofi path isn't more talented, it isn't luckier, it isn't more educated. It's just more honest, more patient, more willing to measure the right things. The 4 milestones are the Kofi path, and they're available to every single person watching this. Let me be direct with you now. You will not hit these 4 milestones by learning more things. You won't hit them by watching more YouTube videos, including this one. You won't hit them by buying a better course, finding a better mentor, or getting access to better data. You will hit them by becoming a different kind of person. And that distinction between knowing and being is the gap that destroys most trading careers. Here's what I mean. You can know that you should audit your losses and still blame the market the moment a trade closes red. Knowing is not being. You can know that losing streaks are statistically normal and still overhaul your strategy after 5 losses. Knowing is not being. You can know that emotional neutrality improves performance and still ride the euphoria wave after a big winner into a reckless position. Knowing is not being. The milestones I've described today are not knowledge checkboxes. They are identity transitions. You cannot tick them off a list. You can only live your way into them through repeated exposure to discomfort, through honest self-audit, through the slow and unglamorous work of becoming someone who does what they say they will do every single time, whether they feel like it or not. That person is not born. That person is built. And the first 12 months, they're the construction period, the foundation work, the invisible infrastructure that will determine how high everything built afterward can go. The traders who try to skip the construction and go straight to the skyscraper are the ones you see posting about blown accounts 12 months from now. The traders who do the foundation work, the 4 milestones, the internal shifts, the identity transitions, they're the ones you see quietly posting consistent results 3, 4, 5 years in. Imagine becoming that trader, not the one with the highlight reel, the one with the foundation. Imagine waking up at month 13 and knowing, not hoping, not praying, not crossing your fingers, Actually knowing that you have a process, that you can trust yourself to follow it, and that the only thing between you and consistent profitability is time and volume. That's not a fantasy. That's what the milestones build. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Abraham Lincoln. Your first year is the axe sharpening, and every trader who rushes past it will swing a dull axe for years and wonder why the tree won't fall. Here's what I want to leave you with. You are not behind. I know it feels that way. I know you watch other people, the ones in forums, the ones on social media, the ones in trading groups, and it looks like they're all further along than you. It looks like they cracked the code and you're still searching for the page the code is written on. But let me be honest with you about what you're actually watching. You're watching a filtered highlight reel. You're watching the wins, not the losses, the confidence, not the nights of doubt, the profits, not the account statements from 6 months ago. Nobody posts their journey while it's ugly. They post the destination after they've arrived, and you're comparing your Chapter 7 to their Chapter 24. Stop doing that to yourself, please. Here's what's actually true. If you are in your first 12 months and you're still here, still trying, still studying, still showing up, you are not failing. You are doing the work that most people quit before they understand the value of it. You are in the construction phase of something that, if you build it right, will serve you for decades. The 4 milestones are not a race. They don't have a schedule. Some traders hit all 4 in 8 months. Some take 18. Some hit 3 and circle back to earn the 4th. That's fine. The sequence matters more than the speed. What matters is that you know what you're building, that you know what a real milestone looks like, that you stop measuring your progress by your balance and start measuring it by your behavior. The balance will follow the behavior. It always does, eventually. And if you were standing at the beginning of that road right now, uncertain, a little scared, wondering if you have what it takes, here's the truth. You don't have what it takes yet. And that is completely fine, because nobody does at the start. The traders who make it didn't have what it took at the beginning either. They built it, slowly, through exactly the kind of honest, patient, unglamorous work I've described in this video. You can build it too, not by finding the right strategy, by becoming the right person. 1 milestone at a time. Now I want to ask you something real. Of the 4 milestones I described today, which one are you currently working on? Not which one you wish you were at. Which one is honestly where you are right now? Write it in the comments. Write milestone 1 or milestone 3, whatever is true for you. No judgment here. This is a space for honest traders, not performance. Because here's what I know about the people who comment honestly on videos like this. They're the ones who eventually make it. Not because the comment did anything magical, but because the willingness to be honest about where you are is the first condition of growth. It's the milestone 1 applied to your overall development as a trader. And if this video shifted something for you, if it reframed something, clarified something, made you see your first year differently, I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Not because I need the number, because subscribing is a choice. It's a small, quiet decision to stay in a space that takes this seriously, that doesn't sell you the shortcut, that doesn't promise you profitability in 30 days, or a magic system, or an underground strategy the institutions don't want you to know about. This channel is for traders who are willing to do the real work, the internal work, the slow, invisible, foundational work that most people skip and then wonder why they're stuck. If that's the trader you want to become, if that's the community you want to be part of, hit subscribe and turn on the bell, because the next video goes even deeper, and I don't want you to miss it. See you there.